Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are talking about narcissistic personality disorder, what it is, what it looks like, why these people are so fucked up, / the psychology behind narcissism, and more importantly, how to deal with a narcissist and how to heal from narcissistic relationships and narcissistic trauma. Let's get started. The sadistic sauté of mindfucks a narcissist will serve you often begins with gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological form of manipulation that actually makes you question your sanity. It starts off really slowly, like, oh, no, I didn't do that. You don't remember that. And they just conveniently don't remember anything because they never do anything wrong. It would be way too shattering to their ego to be at fault for anything. And also the point of it is to make you feel bad for anything that you do and make you feel like everything that you do is wrong and you can't do anything right and you're the worst person and, it's really, you're very lucky that I even tolerate someone like you type of vibe. You're literally one of the stupidest people I've ever met and so slow. What is taking so long to assemble this furniture? I could have done it in 20 minutes. It really hurt my feelings when you called me slow and stupid. I'm just over here trying to put our furniture together and you're sitting there ridiculing me, not even helping me. What are you talking about? I never said that. You can never remember anything correctly. You know what? I'm the victim here. You're always accusing me of things I haven't done. It's this huge headache all the time with you. You have self-esteem issues. Maybe you should go to therapy. I was just trying to help you with assembling the furniture, but you wouldn't let me. You wanted to do it all yourself, and I was just commenting that it was taking a long time, and then you turn it into this thing where you make me the bad guy. What is wrong with you? What is happening? How did you just twist that around? They're going to constantly do this because the psychology piece behind that is narcissistic people hate themselves. They carry a lot of shame. Shame is one of the lowest frequencies, one of the lowest vibrations a human being can experience. And so imagine walking around this planet having to do things and then just hating yourself and being full of so much shame from a childhood trauma or traumas that just went unprocessed. They weren't able to process them for whatever reason. So a lot of times narcissistic people overcompensate by becoming high achievers or just keeping everyone else around them down. And they do that through gaslighting. So like I was saying with a narcissist, they'll just slowly start doing these things and it'll be really surprising at first because typically they start out really charming and then it's like you're walking on eggshells constantly. And a lot of times you'll start to believe, well, if I just did something better, they want you to believe everything is in your control. So it's kind of like, well, if you didn't do this, if you didn't do that, it could be about anything. It could literally be about if you were late, if you maybe were cooking and you burned dinner, any little thing will set them off and they will just shame bomb you until you hate yourself and you have the experience of hating yourself. And narcissistic people, they need to offload their shame onto someone else and they actually experience some relief and even pleasure sometimes from shaming someone else and putting them in that state. But then it kind of cycles back because if the person is feeling too bad, then they start to feel like they're a bad person. So they'll cycle back by doing something nice and blah, 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 until the next wave of gaslighting is ignited. They also lack the ability to experience empathy. They completely don't care about anyone else's experience unless it's serving them. So people in their lives are just there to serve them and they're very in touch with their feelings and what makes them happy and what doesn't. And they're really actually never happy or satisfied, even if they say again, that's why a lot of them become high achievers, because it's like, if I just did that, I could prove everyone wrong. And it just, nothing ever fills that void because it's a childhood trauma that needs to be addressed. But they're not the types that go to therapy because nothing is wrong with them. And of course, therapy would be a good place to also learn empathy. And they do have the ability to learn, they just don't want to. Unlike sociopaths and psychopaths, narcissists can learn to a certain degree to be empathic. They just don't think they need to because nothing's wrong. They never do anything wrong, right? And because they lack empathy and the ability to really connect with another human being on an emotional level whatsoever, they don't trust anyone. So they often are cheaters. They are not loyal people. They will constantly accuse you of cheating, because they're cheating, they're huge projectors. So all of their bad qualities, they will project onto you. You are such a miserable person, and you're making me a miserable person. All I've been doing since I met you is eating and drinking too much. It's all your fault. I'm spilling and it's your fault. Everything is your fault. Are you for real right now? Are you for real right now? I have never once forced you to eat or drink too much, and you've always been an alcoholic and fat ass. What? And if you've dealt with a narcissist, you know that these are very angry people. They are angry motherfuckers. And after a while, anything will set them off, and it will always be your fault. But they truly have an addiction to anger, and anger is an addiction. It's a chemical response that happens in the brain that has addictive qualities if you allow it to be. And because narcissists never take responsibility for anything they do, and they have this deep shame within them that constantly is just stirring and trying to spew out on all these places, they are literally addicted to anger. And it's so seductive to get into the mindset that you can fix them and you can heal them. And if you just did something different, then they wouldn't get angry. This is not true. The only person that you have control over and how you react and respond and do things is yourself. Another thing that anger is trying to protect them from is something called narcissistic annihilation. So narcissistic annihilation is kind of how it sounds, where the narcissist feels like they are going to die because of something that has happened to them that they don't like, that is outside of their control. It's sometimes called narcissistic mortification, because if they get embarrassed or feel like someone's bad-mouthing them, that's enough to send them into another place of rage and honestly feel like they're experiencing death. Another thing is that if you decide to leave a narcissist, they will go into that place and freak the fuck out and do every mind fuck that they could think of. This is often why they break up with you first, because it's a strong fear they have all the time that you're going to leave them. So they often do it first, and they're like, oh, come back, or I made a mistake, or sometimes it's like they were in a blackout or something, and then they regret it, and then you do that whole back and forth thing with them. But that is a true deep fear that they have. Anything that's outside of their control is scary to them, but especially those two things, being embarrassed by something and then you leaving them. What's interesting is that they either attract people that are really empathic or caretaking, or they attract people with borderline personality disorder. And so they attract people that are empathic are caretakers because they're a fucking lot of work. And so people that are caretakers are kind of drawn to that. It's like, oh, I could help you. And it often becomes a very codependent relationship where you're always trying to fix and rescue and all of that. And it's a very toxic relationship, as so it is with a borderline. So they kind of fit together in a malignant way, but they do, because the borderline person loves the drama and can't handle too much intimacy. So when the narcissistic person starts acting like a dick, they could just run. And they need that space, and they'll create drama or set it off, and so you'll see a lot of that narcissistic borderline dynamic, or you'll see a codependent person. And a lot of times a normal codependent person starts to look like a narcissist. It starts to look like a borderline, because you have to start lying and cut off certain parts of who you are to survive. So it could start to mirror that and make you feel crazy. If you're not borderline, you'll just feel crazy and insane. Also, narcissists attract people with addiction issues. They could say the addict, you were fucked up, you don't remember, that didn't happen, and it's really easier to penetrate the mind of someone with addiction issues because the self-esteem is low, and also because they don't have a solid sense of self and they don't know how to handle intimacy that well. So narcissists love that. It's just like a great playground, and they could just really get in there and mind fuck the shit out of someone who is insecure and doesn't know themselves. Another thing about narcissists is that they're always cheap, and not just financially, but it will show up that way, but in all areas of their life. All the love languages, yes, financially, they're just stingy people. I always tell people that when you see someone that's cheap, financially, it is usually they're cheap in all areas of their life, so watch out for that. But with narcissists, they really feel like everyone owes them something, and so they expect a lot. They want gifts, and they want time and attention and a lot of it, but they don't give a lot of it, and they only give whatever amount they need to get what they want from you. So it's never just like, oh, I was thinking of you, or generosity. It's a form of manipulation. And actually, one of my favorite modern day psychologists, Dr. Pat Allen, I've interviewed her before, she talks about how a successful relationship, there's a masculine energy and a feminine energy, and it doesn't matter what your gender is, but one energy has to be masculine and one has to be feminine. And the masculine energy wants respect, appreciation, and fun from the feminine energy. And the feminine energy wants from the masculine energy to give, protect, and cherish. But with a narcissist, they want all of those things. That's why it's so exhausting to be with a narcissist, because they want the masculine and the feminine, and it's just this constant void of their needs never being met. Another thing a narcissist will definitely do is called hovering. Hovering is just how it sounds. They are constantly monitoring you, looking over things. They're stalking your social media. They're asking friends inappropriate questions. They'll get a private investigator. I mean, they will go far. And it's coming from a place of insecurity and not trusting you, because they're not trustworthy people. So why would they trust you? And then when you end a relationship with a narcissist, the hovering doesn't stop. They still will do anything that they can. They'll check your social media. They'll continue like asking friends or private investigate or anything that they can think of to still monitor you. And then if the breakup lasts longer than 6 months, that's the first kind of hovering thing, is that they come back around 6 months, or they try to engage again after 6, 9, or 12 months. And part of that is because they can't imagine that you broke up with them, or you could live without them, and they need to just know that they still have control over you. It's not that they like you or really, miss you or anything. It's they need to know that they still have some kind of power over you. Hi, you're probably wondering why I'm writing, and I'm writing just to let you know that everything you said about me was wrong, and I'm a really nice person, so we should probably get back together. And this is why it is so important to set firm boundaries with a narcissist. They will always make you, at any point, they will make you do things that you don't want to do. They'll push your boundaries. And again, that's like a shame-inducing tactic too. It's kind of like, well, that's out of my integrity. I wouldn't do that. And they will, manipulate and try to control until they could get you to do what you wouldn't normally do. So especially when you break up with them, they will constantly try to push that boundary and get back together. And so I personally just block, and never, you can't look back. You need to learn the lesson and then just never re-engage. It's not worth it. It's kind of like, I tell my clients all the time, like, if you're walking in the parking lot, do you go up to a car that's, running and go and smell the exhaust it smells so good? No, you don't. And it's that same level of toxicity. Don't make that choice to re-engage after you know that they are toxic and it's not gonna be anything good. And trust me, they haven't changed. Even if they say it, you could be a dumb fuck and try to re-engage and it'll just start all over again. And now for tips and tactics on how to deal with them. So my first suggestion is to have a strong sense of acceptance around the fact that this is a sick person. I know they will do the opposite and try to convince you that you are the sick one, that you are the stupid one, that you are wrong for everything, but that is part of this sickness. Their brain is literally sick and it's not working properly. So if you can have an acceptance around that, that will give you some peace and some sanity. Be calm and confident, which is so difficult. I know when someone is doing all of these crazy making things and saying things that aren't true and then denying things that have happened. But staying calm and confident signals to the narcissist that you are not giving away your power to them. Another part of this is to own your reality, because when a narcissist is gaslighting or in a rage, they are trying to make you not believe your reality and deny everything that they've ever done. And 2 phrases that you could use when they are denying and trying to manipulate and control is, I acknowledge that your perception is different than mine. That's it, 1 sentence. I acknowledge that your perception is different than mine. You can keep repeating it. Or I'm sorry you think that. Or I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not how I feel. And they will say, oh, how you feel isn't right or anything. And you could just say, I'm sorry you see it that way, and walk away. Another tactic is to just walk away or be silent. And this will bother them because, again, you're keeping your power. If you can walk away, just walk away calmly. Not like if you're in a car, just all of a sudden get silent, look out the window, and do not give it any power. And they might get mad and try to stir you along, and you're like, I'm just not in the mood to react to this right now. Which goes into my next suggestion, don't talk too much. When you are dealing with a narcissist and they're gaslighting, they will talk and talk and talk and none of it's making sense and you want to make sense of it, so you try to jump in and you're trying to remember all these points in your head. Don't talk. Just keep it really simple. Use those 2 phrases or a very terse phrase that sets a boundary, and that's it. They'll get mad a little bit and then they'll give up because there's no one to talk to. And then they will come around and be like, I'm sorry. My next tip is also a very important one, and it is to stay connected to your support system. This is so important because narcissists, they want to isolate you. They don't want you to talk on the phone. They don't want you to text. And if you are, they want to know who it is. And they will isolate you to any degree that they can, so they can manipulate you more and more, make you hate yourself more and more. It's very important to stay connected to those people that really love you, which is not the narcissist, even when they say, that they love you. Moving on to healing from narcissistic abuse, the very first thing you need to do is develop a very strong sense of self-love. You should always be doing that, but when you are in a narcissistic relationship and healing from one, that tends to get damaged because the whole point of a narcissist in their mind is to make you hate yourself and carry that shame that they feel. So you often leave a narcissistic relationship just feeling shattered and feeling really bad about yourself. So really focusing on a deep sense of self-love, and I mean every day, all day long, reminding yourself, putting reminders on your phone, having your friends remind you, doing work in therapy, whatever you need to do, doing exercises, saying things in the mirror to yourself, journaling about what amazing person that you are, doing things that you love and are good at, exercising, connecting with friends, having a nice meal, anything that makes you feel good and reminds you of who you are. Do it, and do a lot of it. The other thing is to forgive yourself. Once you get out of those relationships, you could also feel shame about, like, what was I thinking? How could I have allowed myself to be treated like that? And it's okay, it happens. I think it's actually an opportunity when you date a narcissist, or you have a parent that's a narcissist, or a boss, whatever. If you have a close relationship with a narcissist, it's a very good opportunity to really develop a strong sense of self and be like, you know what? No, I'm not that, I'm this, I'm an amazing person. And so, but part of that is being able to forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive yourself, what you're saying to yourself and the universe is, I want that abuse again. Even if someone else isn't doing it, you're internally doing that to yourself. So you must forgive yourself. And when you forgive yourself, you just say, I love you and it's okay. And we learn from this. Which brings me to my last point. Learn from it, journal about it. What did you learn about yourself from being in this relationship? Did you become a stronger person? Did you become more confident in your career? Because they love to put your career down no matter what it is. Did you develop a new passion, a deeper understanding about yourself in some way? Write about it, explore it. You have this person come into your life for a reason. So get out of victim mode and stop dwelling on, oh, what they did to me. That is in the past, because when you forgive yourself, you're not a victim. You're a strong person that's learned an amazing lesson. And it really is an amazing opportunity for a lot of growth and self-improvement if you could look at this narcissistic dynamic, no matter who it was. Like if it was a parent, and I think when you have a narcissistic parent, you could really feel like a victim for long because you didn't pick that person. But that person was put into your life for a certain reason, so maybe you could have more compassion, or you could be a better parent, whatever it is. So what is the lesson that you learned? And it's so important to really hone in and focus on that. Don't repeat history, and the next relationship you have is a healthier one. And more importantly, the relationship that you have with yourself gets stronger and healthier every day. So it's a really empowering place to be if you can forgive yourself and learn the lesson and just keep that self-love going. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please share it with a friend and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And in the meantime, I'll be sending you lots of love and light.